In the immediate aftermath of those mass shootings, 2 mosques in New Zealand, the media worked overtime to try to link President Trump to the tragedy, of course. Well, this sick narrative continued today with new, odious charges.
Yes, he's crazy. He's a white nationalist.
Racially and ethnically insensitive.
Personal grievance that is precisely consistent with the white nationalist agenda.
This whole racial bigoted perception of the president is an albatross around his neck.
Joining me now exclusively, I'm so happy he's with us, I've been asking for him to come on for a while, is Ben Carson, of course, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Dr. Carson, the only African-American in the cabinet. You can take a swing at that. I mean, I heard white nationalists repeated so many times in relation to the president, his policies. Those are white nationalists. His emphasis is on white nationalism over and over again. Your reaction?
Well, you know, there's a narrative that's being painted there, but, you know, I've had an opportunity to interact with racist people throughout my life, and he is not one. He is so easy to be around, so relaxed, and treats you with the utmost respect. And, you know, I talked with him early on about the plight of many people, particularly in the inner city, and the compassion that he showed is very impressive. But, you know, he doesn't wear it on his sleeve. You know, he believes that a rising tide lifts all boats. And he doesn't go around playing identity politics. He said, let's just fix this so that everybody does well.
Well, one of the things that I found most amazing that got almost no coverage, because you've gotten hammered recently, we'll get to that, but you actually worked with Bill de Blasio. You can't get pretty much any more of a liberal mayor than Bill de Blasio. But you worked with him because the New York Housing Authority has been plagued with all sorts of problems. Dilapidated housing, rodents, infestation,
yes.
It just goes on and on. There was a federal takeover of New York City Housing Authority. January 31st, it became official. I would have thought de Blasio would have hammered you. De Blasio went on and on about how it's a new path forward. He said you're very responsive. You were very responsive. Yeah, what we've done today creates a strong path forward. He said a tangible path forward. And he says it will change and improve the lives of public housing residents. We wanted to make sure there would be results.
Right.
What happened there? You and he are like our pals now.
Well, I'll tell you what really happened, and I wish this would happen in our Congress, too. We just decided to put the people first. We said, whatever we talk about, let's always keep the people at the forefront and do those things that will actually benefit them. And, you know, that's the approach that we've taken in all of our HUD projects. And, you know, we're looking at our REACT scoring. We're looking at ways to get people out of the squalor. You know, a lot of people say, well, why do you let people live in this dilapidated place? It's because we don't have another place to put them. As soon as we have another place to put them, believe me, we will do that. But, you know, you have to weigh all of these things very carefully. And having grown up around that, I'm very, very interested in making sure that we give people the kind of quality life that will allow them the freedom to think about something other than, are they going to survive the night?
Yeah, well, rents are going up in cities across the United States. And yet the left and a lot of fair housing activists say, well, HUD is cutting programs, 18% proposed budget cut for this fiscal year, 10,000 units of public housing are lost to decay every year, according to your own department, and saying that you're not doing enough to address this.
Well, there are those who believe that just throwing money at the problem is the only solution. You know, we're looking at a lot of solutions. First of all, the budget that has been proposed makes sure that we protect everybody in all of the housing programs. Nobody is going to be thrown out. But we're looking at things like the RAD program, Rental Assistance Demonstration, which comes and remodels and rebuilds a lot of these dilapidated places and takes care of that deferred maintenance that's been put off for so long, because the system that we had been using just allowed it to continue to accumulate and people to get further behind. And we're changing to a public-private partnership system.
That's what they don't like. Is that what's going on here? Because, I mean, I have to confess I didn't follow a lot of what HUD was doing because I'm focusing on all these other, but there actually is some opportunity zones. You know, obviously that's yes. a huge effort that's currently underway.
It's
but I mean, they got New York NBC saying current and former HUD people say, well, you don't have a sense of urgency because you're very calm, unlike me. You're very calm, Secretary Carson.
Well, would you like to
What's your sense of urgency?
Would you like to have a neurosurgeon who panics every time?
Yeah, exactly.
Bleeding?
Panic. That's what they want.
No, No, you know, they're looking at things the way they used to be. We're looking at things the way that they need to be, and we're changing things, and they can't relate to that. And I don't talk about them. I don't blame them. They just can't understand, and they don't talk to us. And when they do talk to us, they distort what's going on. So I don't really worry about them. I just worry about doing what's right, and the proof will be in the pudding. And we are working to get people out of poverty with the opportunity zones. You know, people have made a lot of money over the last couple of years. Now we're providing a mechanism where they can take their unrealized capital gains, invest them in places that have traditionally been neglected, and give people a chance. We're talking
Englewood in Chicago. I got a lot of new friends there from our show that we did there. Englewood, Compton. I mean, we're going into those areas, parts of Detroit, because those are traditionally not conservative places, but I think we would hope that we'll see real progress.
Well, our understanding is that our people are our most valuable resource. And if we develop them and make them productive, we only strengthen ourselves as a nation. We only have 330 million people. China and India have 4 times that many people. We'll never be able to compete with them unless we learn to develop our people. And I think we understand that.
So apparently you just put your feet up on your desk all day and you're sipping Mai Tais, heading down to Florida on the weekends. I mean, your schedule's getting hammered. These are by the people who cover the Congress. It's home every night, every week at Thursday afternoon.
You know, the way I look at it, if that's the worst that they can find, that I go home some weekends and that I may leave early on a Friday in order to get there, if that's the worst that they can find, as much as they've been scrutinizing, we're in pretty good shape.
This job compared to neurosurgery on children, what are you finding most frustrating and most fulfilling?
Well, of course, you know, as a surgeon, I still have a surgical personality. Boom, boom, get it done.
Want it done now. Yeah. Get it done.
And here you have to deal with bureaucracy. And, you know, bureaucrats tend to think that the rules are much more important than the goals. So, you know, adjusting to that, but not adjusting to the point where you capitulate to it. Trying to change it. You know, we've brought into HUD now a CFO. We didn't have a CFO for 8.5 years. Can you imagine with the billions of dollars flowing through there? So there was really not the kind of fiscal control that you would expect. Now we have that. We're bringing in the kinds of controls that actually will allow us to give more freedom to the various jurisdictions, because we can keep track of where the money is and how it's being used and what the timelines are. All of those things are changing. We're upgrading our IT systems. We still have a good ways to go, but we're making progress there.
Is it the slow pace of things? And everyone's like, oh, Ben Carson talks so slowly. Well, we need people to talk more slowly if they're making sense, in my view. But that I would imagine that's frustrating for you, the slow pace of change.
It's very frustrating. I know it's slow
for the president as well.
It is.
Are you going to stick around for a while? You're going to be in the cabinet for a while?
I plan on it. You know, there was the hoopla a couple of weeks ago, Carson's leaving. You know, I was asked, what am I going to do? And I said, you know, my preference is to go back into the private sector. It was extremely enjoyable. And you had a great deal of freedom, and you had a lot of influence, because I was, you know, speaking out a lot more at that time. But, you know, what we're doing is also incredibly important.
Does that mean you're going to stay for the next year, at least?
It means that I will definitely finish out the first term, and I'm open to a second term.
Secretary Carson, do not be a stranger. We need to see more of you. We get a lot of requests to have you on the show. Please,
absolutely.
Please don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you back.
As Arnold say, I'll be back.
All right.